All right, welcome to another episode of 95 Daily Mix, where we have a special guest today by the name of Frances. Her TikTok handle is actually Mother Clutching Trucker, so go ahead and follow her. Frances, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So we're here to discuss, obviously, you are a female truck driver and probably one of the prettiest here in America. So my first question to you is, how does a pretty woman get into trucking?
Well, I will say that getting into trucking is universally the same. You're going to start with doing your research prior to starting to see if it's even a lifestyle that you can subscribe to. So what you're going to do is you're going to do your research beforehand, and then you're going to go ahead and start to look at where you can go to school, shop for quotes to see what school offers the best price or bang for the buck, and check if they're going to be getting, if any endorsements are included in that. And then from there, you're going to get your permit with them, the school. I personally went to 160 Driving Academy. There's a bunch of them all over the United States, and they will train you on the necessary things that you have to have in order to pass your CDL, a driver's license test, and they'll also train you on the permit as well. So that's how essentially you would get started. But the number one thing is you're gonna do your research and see if this is even a lifestyle that you like.
Okay. And we'll get into the lifestyle in just a minute, but let me get this straight. So there is training involved. Is it that just so you can get the license required to drive the trucks, or is there any additional truck driving training that people can expect?
So you're going to expect that there's going to be theory and practical. So the theory part is going to be with the permitting, getting your permit license. And obviously that's not going to permit you to drive yet, but it's going to give you the foundation of the mechanics of the truck. And after that, once you get your permit, then you're allowed to actually get inside the truck and start training at how to do, for example, parallel parking, offset parking, and just going straight back in the truck is actually pretty difficult. So you're going to be doing all of those kind of that kind of training. Once you get your permit, you can expect to get in a truck and start doing some maneuvers.
Excellent. Well, a lot of people call truck driving the backbone job of America, right? It's utilized so much in getting things from point A to point B. You mentioned the lifestyle, and I have a couple of questions on that. First, let's start with your point of if the lifestyle will match you. Tell us more about what viewers that are looking at this show right now can expect if they're interested in truck driving. What kind of lifestyle can they expect to have?
Well, I completely agree with you that trucking is the backbone of America. If you bought it, a truck driver brought it. Okay. So when it comes to the lifestyle, because of that, that means a lot of us are sometimes going across the country to make that delivery. So there's OTR, which is an acronym for over the road. So you might start in Florida and you might end up in California. Then there's regional, where you're going to stay within a region. So that's what I was doing. I was in the Northeast region, and essentially every single weekend you will go home, hopefully, regarding dispatch. And then there's local driving, which more than likely you're not going to start off on local driving. That's really important to know because when you first start trucking, you're a liability because these are 80,000 up to 80,000 pound trucks. And if you're driving that locally, you can make a lot of mistakes. It's one of the most dangerous jobs in America. It's top 10. So knowing that if you have children at home, that you may be away for 6 months to a year, knowing that you're not going to have the economy, the amenities of having a shower every single day. So you're going to have to think about, how am I going to get my shower? Am I going to have to bring rags? Am I going to have to bring wet wipes? Um, Also, what's really relevant is what you're hauling. So, like I, for example, started with flatbed, which is extremely difficult. Like I'm throwing straps, I'm in construction sites, I'm getting dirty. Do I want to do a vigorous workout every single day? Do I maybe just want to sit back and chill and drive for a long period of time listening to my podcast? Also, you have to think about food and how, it's kind of like known that truck drivers don't have the best diets, and that's because we just have gas stations to stop at. Some trucks aren't, if you go with a company, they may not have a refrigerator. So you have to consider that. Am I going to get a refrigerator that plugs into my outlet in my truck? But if you don't have any sort of, like, at nighttime, it's called an APU system where your truck automatically turns on, guess what? That lighter, that cooler that you just bought is going to get warm. So your food is going to spoil. So there's a lot of things to take into account. Am I okay with being away from my family for a long time until I go local? Am I okay with getting dirty? Am I okay with not having the best diet, or can I pre-plan my diet? Also, am I okay with sitting for up to 11 hours a day driving? Because that is the standard of truck drivers. We drive for 11 hours. We have to take an hour, excuse me, we have to take only a 30-minute break within 8 hours. So know that you're going to take your 30-minute break, and then you're going to have to continue driving, because the thing is, if you say, well, I guess I want to take an hour today, or maybe I just want to take it a little bit longer, that all goes in with the pre-plan of your trip. So if I'm going to Florida to California, I don't have an hour this day, another hour that day to waste, because time is money. And if you're driving far away, you're usually going to be cent per mile. So you're gonna want to make all your cents per that mile. And if it doesn't make sense to sit and wait, then you're losing out potentially accumulatively, potentially $100, $300 just by taking that extra 30-minute break. Mhm.
That makes sense. And with today's technology, I'm going to assume that these trucks have GPS on them. So do they, a two-part question, are they able to see where you're at all times? And is there a deadline that they give you to reach a destination?
So that all goes with your pre-plan. So for your first part of your question is that you will be having your own GPS. So the truck does not come with a GPS already in it.
Mhm.
There are trucker GPSs that you can buy, and then there's also trucker GPSs that you can download on your phone, like Hammer or Trucker's Path. Some of them you even have to, like, buy from your phone. So when it comes to them knowing where you are, yes, your dispatch is going to know where you are at all times. There's times that you could be sitting, and let's say you take that extra minute or that extra 30 minutes on your hour break, they might call you and say, hey, why aren't you rolling? Right. Or something that a lot of people don't know, and I want to say it is one of the most difficult things to understand within trucking, is that we work off of four different clocks. So your dispatch is looking at your clocks and seeing where are you pertaining to your clock. So when you first get your dispatch, what you're going to do is you're going to call your customer and you're going to say, "Hey, when do you guys close?" Right? There's certain customers that have specific timelines that you're supposed to adhere to. Like Home Depot, you have to go there at the exact time that it's supposed to be there. And if you miss that, guess what? You're going to have to stay there until the next day. Let's say it's 10 p.m. and you took that extra 30 minutes and now you get there at 10:15. They're not going to allow you to get
Wow.
offloaded. But then what happens then is that you're going to have to wait until the next day at 10 p.m. to get offloaded. So now you're out potentially $300 because you're a day behind. And if you're a day behind, that means that you're behind going home for the weekend, or you're behind on your money. Does that make sense? So
It
yeah.
absolutely makes sense. So it has to be obviously very coordinated. This is a question that I'm sure, a lot of folks will have, particularly because, you're in a special demographic for this job. Obviously, we can agree it's a male dominated industry. So as you're going through your routes, I'm going to assume, like we all seen in the movies and film, that there's trucker stops, maybe even trucker bars, right? Would that be accurate?
So it's interesting. There are trucker stops, there's rest areas, there are fuel stations that are specifically for truck drivers like Love's, Pilot. There, when you say that there's trucker bars, not necessarily. Sometimes when you go into a small town, there will be like a fuel station with a little tiny bar
Mhm.
that's attached to it that's for truckers, but it's also for the general public. But more than likely, you're going to see a lot of
A
us
lot of
there.
truckers. Hey,
Yeah,
okay.
because it's a warm meal.
So walk me through, someone like yourself walks into a bar or just a pit stop or anywhere, and there's just bunch of men that most likely look like trucker men, but
Yeah.
then they see you walking in. Walk me through what that experience is like. How do they treat you? What do they say to you? Are they surprised?
Yeah, so it's a plethora of reactions. I mean, the record is always going to scratch when I walk in. That's already I'm prepared for that to happen. With women as well. And I will say that because I've even been told, "Oh yeah, the front is over there instead of the warehouse." People don't expect that I'm a truck driver. But when it comes to the men specifically, I will say that not all men are built the same, but a lot of them are going to just stare at me or they're going to watch me walk from point A to point B. And if you're not used to that, it may seem a little threatening to you because these men, they haven't seen sometimes a woman in a long time. They haven't seen their wife in many, many months. And this is something even with local trucking I encounter, whether it's a man trying to dominate me, because the thing is that um, you know, like since it's such a manly industry, they kind of want you to submit still because these are men. Like these guys are dirty, they burp, they spit, they cuss, they're fighting, and but they want me to be submissive.
Mhm.
So I've had guys try to take my bill of lading, which is paperwork for my freight that I need. I've had guys essentially belittle me, berate me, bully me, and it wasn't until my new job that I specifically signed up for, which is award winning with when it comes to women's environment. We have won multiple awards for that. That's why I specifically chose my company. The company prior to that, the HR was not prepared for the reaction that I was going to get when I started working there. So when you speak about like the environment, really it's as strong as the HR. Okay, truly it is.
Wow. Okay. And my last question would be, you mentioned safety a little bit and what you had to endure. Would you recommend this as a safe job for other women? Have you ever felt unsafe? And if you have, talk to me about it.
So I have felt unsafe. So when I first started trucking, I was given advice by my instructor. This is like going all the way back to school that he said that you guys, whenever you leave your truck and you come back, you have to check your fifth wheel release arm. Now, your fifth wheel release arm is what connects your tractor to your trailer. Now, he says that some people will be vindictive. Like, let's say you cut them off, they remember you, or let's say they're just bored and they just kind of want to mess things around at nighttime when you're sleeping at a rest area. They might pull it. Okay. Now, when you pull it, when you move forward with your tractor, your trailer is going to drop. Okay, you can't go anywhere. There, you're gonna need extra help to lift it up. You may get fired. There's a lot of things that can happen with that, right? Now, at my last job, there was a guy that specifically I used the bill of lading as an example because that was him. So he was known to be a bully already, and he had been, how do I say, like he wasn't allowed to go to certain customers because he had already harassed a woman there. So again, the HR really wasn't holding him accountable. This company wasn't necessarily the best at that. Well, when I came in within less of a month, I was only there for 2 weeks. I went into a customer's location. I was kind of having some issues with my paperwork, and he said, "Hey, let me just take your paperwork and I'll just take it back to the terminal." And I said, "Hey, if you don't mind, I just want the paperwork so I can learn how to do this next time. It's my first time doing this." And I said it to him very nicely. And essentially, he got really aggressive and he's like, "Oh, like you just wait and see." And to a truck driver, you just wait and see. I'm not really sure what that means. Are you going to pull my release arm? Are you going to put me in harm's way? Are you going to cut my brakes? Are you going to get me fired in some way? Do something to sabotage me, right? So when that was threatening to me, and then later on that day, he essentially yelled at me and he said, do you want to meet me across the street?" Right. And because he kept looking at me and laughing, and I'm like, "Dude, what's going on?" He said, "You want to meet me across the street?" So essentially, he threatened to beat me up. And mind you, I'm half his size. I'm not even his age. I don't know. I can't assume what age he was, but he's older than me
Mhm.
and should be more mature than me. And I was just kind of set it back because when you're over the road, you only see these guys for like maybe 30 minutes and then you leave. So if there's a guy that's being mean to you, whatever, I'm going to do my job. I'm going to leave. But this, I'm a local job. I have to see this guy every single day. And what he meant by that was actually that he was going to get everybody else involved to bully me. So I worked for that company for 8 months, and it was probably one of the most stressful. Two people ended up, like, after I finally spoke with HR, two people got fired. And they ended up moving the manager because they saw that he could not handle what was happening there. And but by that time, there was already a sour taste in my mouth, and I had to leave because it took too long. And also with the HR, they were kind of gaslighting me a little bit. And I realized that, like, yeah, you're supposed to protect the company, but at this point, the company's at stake here because of how much is like going on. So I have been threatened, and it has felt very dangerous for me, like leaving every day because his daughter worked in the office, so she had access to my because in the trucking industry, it's a family industry. Even if we don't know each other, we're still family because it's like a small niche that only certain people understand. So he just so happened to have family in that office that had access to my where I lived and all that stuff. I didn't even feel comfortable going to my house. So it was very stressful for me. I took a short leave, and now I'm with a company that the HR is already having my back. Within, I want to say, the first 2 months, a man fondled me. So he touched the lower back, and I moved away from him, like showing him that I felt uncomfortable, and then he did it again. So I'm
This
no
was a
longer.
coworker, a fellow truck driver did this?
This is a dock worker.
Dock worker.
So yeah, so this was a dock worker.
So
I
like a
mean,
would that consider like a vendor then? They're not related to the company, but they do
they are
business.
related.
Oh, they are
They
related.
are related. Yeah. So when I bring in the freight, so when I come from my terminal and I go to the next terminal and I bring them their freight to distribute to the day
Mhm.
people, um all of those dock workers work for my company. So
Got it.
I go into the dock and I help unload my trailer.
Got it.
So I was just replacing a fuel tank, and that's when he did that in front
Got
of
it.
the camera.
That's terrible. Yeah, I mean that type of harassment, obviously does not belong in the workplace whatsoever. So thank you for sharing that. So after all this, would you still recommend this line of work to another female? Do the positives outweigh the negatives? What are your thoughts?
I believe that the positive, if you understand the lifestyle you're and you have thick skin, the positive outweigh the negative only because of the pay. So if you want a job where you're going to be able to be paid well and be able to kind of not have someone like a micromanager like asking you what are you doing or anything like that, and you follow your clockwork and you do your paperwork right, essentially you can go all day without talking to anyone. So if you need that interaction with people, this is not for you. But if you like to be in your own world, listening to music and podcasts and talking to friends or whatever, like whatever the case is, you're gonna enjoy this job and the pay is worth it. And once you get your experience, you can start negotiating the days that you work, the hours you work. So in the beginning, it's going to be grueling, but once you get to that 2 year mark, you're going to start saying, because I only work 4 days a week now, because I cannot do 5 days with those men, but I can do four.
Mhm.
And, and it's also because I'm a single mom, it works best for my family. It works best for me, for my mental health. And I can say that and I can ask for that. But without that experience, you're going to have to put in some work. So it's not like you put in work and then you're getting all this cash, right? That's what people usually think. Put in the work to stick in with it, and I promise you after 2 years you will be way more comfortable, you'll be making way more money, and you'll understand the clocks to benefit you to make more money. But if you don't know the clocks, you won't make any money.
Fair enough. All right. Well, that's all the time we have for today, folks. Francis, thank you again for coming on the
Thank
show.
you.
Again, everybody, add her on TikTok at Mother Clutching Trucker.
Yeah.
And before we go, one last quick question. Is AI going to impact this industry at all? Is there any fear that there might be, self-driving trucks or AI androids that might impact your industry? Quick 30-second response.
No.
No.
We that's a 80,000 pound vehicle. The AI trucks are already out there, but it is manned.
Okay.
So it's never alone. They have 100 cameras on them. They are never alone. That would be catastrophic for the general public to have
Okay.
those trucks on the road.
Fantastic. All right. Well, you heard it first. Thank you again, Francis. Have a good one. Take care, everybody.
You too. Thank you.